Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Convos Cultural Update. My name is Mike Armintrout. Again, we hope everyone is staying safe and healthy wherever you are. If you're still at home or if you're back out at work, we wish you all the best. Can't wait to be in the theater with you again. Just wanted to start today's message with a quick shout out to the seniors, all of which we are thinking about in this finals week as they are all preparing for what will be the virtual graduation at Purdue next weekend. Specifically, we're thinking about those seniors who intern with us at Convocations, as well as lead the student groups affiliated with Convos, the Student Concert Committee, the Convocations Volunteer Network, and TEDx Purdue U. We are thinking about you all specifically and are with you in spirit. Be sure to pay attention to the Convos social channels next week, as we'll be doing little features on each of the seniors. And now let's dive into some picks. You'll notice on the regularly updated Convos Music Monday playlists, there are some new tracks there this week from some of my favorite bands, as well as some past Convos alums. Kruang Ben, Brent Cobb, a great new band I just discovered, The Other Lives, Convos alum Toki Monsta, who was with us in October of 2016. So you can hear all of those songs on the Convos Music Monday playlist, which, along with the other links we talk about here, are all available at convocations.org/cultural update. Again, that's convocations.org/cultural update. The rest of the update today is focused on the keys, the keyboard, the piano, the organ, all of it. First off, I wanted to start out by recognizing that living legend Herbie Hancock turned 80 a couple of weeks ago. And at the Cultural Update site, you'll find a link to a great article that showcases 5 of Herbie's classic albums. All of us who are deeply ingrained in music, and jazz in particular, have an affinity and likely our own Herbie stories. And I don't want to give anything away, but Todd Wetzel's got a great story where he and his friends likely spent hours just jamming out, dancing on his parents' driveway, listening to the Headhunters record, blasting through the cassette deck boombox. And, while I'm not here to tell Todd's stories, I thought that was a particularly good one. But I'm going to turn the update over to Todd. He's got some great keyboard-related news for you as well. So, Todd, take it away.
I can't believe you just mentioned that story. Yes, so we were a bunch of kids dancing in the driveway in suburban Middle America, listening to a cassette boom box with blasting out Headhunters. Yeah, thanks for telling on me. It could be worse, right? That's a great story. Okay. Today, we have a few more keyboard options for you to check out. It's a special keyboard edition, maybe. So the first thing we want to talk about is a new recording featuring some Convos alums. We're very excited about this one. The pianist Inon Barnatan was here at Purdue in November of 2016 for a solo piano recital. And he was so incandescent and amazing that he really set in motion the idea of the piano giving circle, creating a culture of support for piano-based repertoire at Purdue. So I have a special place in my heart for Inon's presence here, and I know that many of you were so struck by that performance. So this new recording, though, combines Inon with another Convos alum, the Academy of St. Martin's in the Field, highly regarded orchestra, known worldwide. You've heard them on WBAA. They're amazing. This performance features the orchestra under the direction of Alan Gilbert, who spent 8 years at the helm of the New York Philharmonic, as you may know, is currently the music director and conductor at Elbphilharmonie Orchestra in Hamburg, Germany. So loaded program there, amazing lineup. And so this is a recording. It's a volume 2 featuring works of Beethoven, so specifically then piano concerti, so works orchestra and piano. And let's just take a moment and go back and revisit the program that Inon performed when he was here at Purdue. And so that program featured works by Haydn, Brahms, and Schubert. And it's really the perfect microcosm of what happens inside this Beethoven program. Let's just think about it for a second. With Haydn, you have the light texture and the motoric movement in this early classical texture. With the Brahms, you have motivic development that really starts to take a bigger force, larger theme and variations. Sonata form really starts to loom large here, and then you have just the power that starts to come in with Brahms. And then Schubert, you have those incredible soaring lyrical lines and the powerful questioning intellect. So in many ways, you put all of that together, and as you look across Beethoven's output, you get a very similar kind of capacity and requirement, actually, for the musician. So makes Inon especially well suited, and this orchestra especially well suited to dive in. So the other part about Beethoven, of course, is he was both a composer and a pianist. So when he composed for piano, he wrote knowing how the piano works, and that gave his piano works such special depth for him. And so being able to step into a program that features these concerti written by a pianist's composer is pretty special. The program opens with an early concerto. It's Concerto number 2 in B flat major, Opus 19. And so think of the early Beethoven in many ways as heavily influenced by Viennese court music. In other words, Beethoven very much had Haydn and Mozart in his musical ear. That was the music of the time, and he was emulating that. So this being Opus 19, it sits right alongside some other well-known Beethoven works that we think of as that early period, the Opus 18 string quartets, that beautiful light Mozartian kind of texture. So this first piece gets it off and rolling with a very familiar kind of musical texture, but with Beethoven's kind of sense of gravitas still in there, even though he's really still emulating the Mozartian form. But it moves on into Beethoven's middle period with the Concerto D major, Opus 61A, and this was right after the Fourth Symphony. And so I've got a trivia question for you. What was the big marker for the beginning of Beethoven moving from the early period to the middle period? Let me hear your answer. I heard it out there. You said it right. It was the Third Symphony. And so this then situates this concerto early in the middle period for Beethoven. So it means that it also coincides with the onset of deafness. So for Beethoven. And of course, that means that the emotional turmoil that was happening in his life, that uncertainty and the frustration and the sense of loss that he was beginning to wrestle with, starts to emerge in his personality and in his aesthetic. So you start to see that happen in this concerto in D major. It also shows up, of course, in the concerto number 5 in E flat major on this program, the Opus 73, known popularly as The Emperor. This particular work, and let me just tell you, Inon shines in this. This is a pianist concerto for sure. It opens with the piano in this virtuosic cadenza. And so this is a chance for the pianist to just go through all of the incredible finger twisting that needs to happen, but bring up this big emotional content. And Inon has the emotional depth to take this on. It's really remarkable. And this was Beethoven's final concerto, by the way. There's one more work on this recording. It's the Opus 80 Choral Fantasy. So it's still orchestra and piano, not in a concerto form per se, but it's still this beautiful combination. And you have these incredible song-like melodies throughout this work. And so it's an amazing way to hear Inon and the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields perform together in a really sensitive and wonderful treatment. The recording is gorgeous, and of course, it's a perfect marriage, as I mentioned, of Inon's emotional intelligence and his pyrotechnic grace. And so we're just excited to see these two different Convos artists put together in a really wonderful match. So highly recommended. Inon Barnatan, Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, under the direction of. Okay, our keyboard feature continues today with another opportunity for you to hear from Mahan Esfahani, the brilliant Iranian-American global citizen harpsichordist. He performed here at Purdue. We had 2 nights of harpsichord immersion back in April of 2019. And so he's continued to do great things. He has a new recording out, but just announced this week on Monday is the fact that he performed for the NPR Music Tiny Desk Concert. And, so many Convos alums have been on the Tiny Desk Concert. It's really amazing to see. But here, Mahan has a special one here. They squeezed a harpsichord in behind Bob Boylan's desk. And so it's great to see Mahan there. What he performed on the Tiny Desk is 2 Scarlatti sonatas, a chaconne by Johann Pachelbel, but sandwiched in between is an incredibly visceral and pulsating work by the American composer Mel Powell. It's called the Recitative and Toccata Percossa from 1955. And so, so this is not a scary atonal mid-century new music work, as some people would like to think of all new music as sounding that way. So this has a melodic and harmonic structure that has been informed by jazz. So when you think of the extended chords that are involved in jazz, that tonal cluster, those chord harmonies where there are notes sort of like ninths and 11ths and 13ths, technically, added into the chords, and various flavors of the 7ths. You're hearing that kind of harmonic structure inside this work. It's deeply rhythmic and percussive, of course. That's why it's called Toccata Percossa. But it's really fascinating to hear this work. So not your scary atonal and new music work. So it's a fascinating program. And of course, when you get a performance with Mahan, you're going to get Mahan, the raconteur, tour guide. He is an expert at taking you through the music, and so you get to see a bit of his impish wit, which he of course showed when he was here, but he's really got a curatorial mind, and he helps set things up to be a good tour guide through it. And he of course has that fiendishly difficult or fiendishly amazing technique, and yet has this wonderful way of handling his interpretations with his own personality. So because you don't have a lot of volume or dynamic control, you have some with harpsichord, but not a ton, say, compared to the piano. You do it with space and time, and you do it with ornamentation. And so the personality of Mahan Esfahani comes through in the way he handles his ornamentation. So especially a special kind of personality that comes out in the context of harpsichord performance because of how the instrument works. So creative types work within the limitations of their medium, and so harpsichord presents these special limitations, and so Mahan is just wonderful to listen to. And so the benefit for Mahan when he recorded this is that it was recorded back in January, so you get to enjoy it even though it was just released now. You get to hear this performance, and there's a live audience in the room, and so that adds energy, and you get to be then a part of the audience with him. So all of the links for everything we've talked about today, so what Mike talked about at the top of the show, as well as Inon Barnatan and the Academy of St. Martin in the Fields, as well as Mahan Esfahani, all of the links are right here below. Be sure to check them out. As we head out here, I just want to offer my belated happy 80th birthday congratulations and best wishes to Herbie Hancock. And let me tell you, if you need some quarantine beating blues, here's a recommendation for you. Or let me say it this way: if you've got the quarantine blues and you need to beat them, there you go. Go find a copy of Headhunters, stream Headhunters, whatever. Put on some Herbie Hancock Headhunters. Go out into your driveway and dance just like I did back in the old days. I may go do that right now. It's guaranteed to chase the quarantine blues away. Okay, that's it for this Convos Cultural Update. Always great to have you with us. Be well, stay safe, in touch, and see you soon.